This weekend, we welcome the return of proper football. Enough of this international stuff. Back to proper football, back to West Ham's title challenge so early on in the season. And we're visiting Southampton at St Mary's, 3 p.m. on Saturday afternoon. And joining me this week to preview that game is football journalist, football editor at Snack Media, James Beavis, and massive Southampton fan. How are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. Looking forward to the weekend. Looking forward to getting the Premier League back up and running again. James, what are your thoughts leading into, the first few weeks of the season? 2 draws and a loss. You followed up that defeat to Everton on the opening weekend with a good point against United. But then what could be seen on paper as a disappointing point against Newcastle. Have you sort of gauged the first few weeks of Southampton's season?
Yeah, so I wasn't expecting much to be honest. I thought, after a tough summer of business and it's a tough fixture list to start the season with. We never win at Everton. I think last time we won there in the Premier League was 1997. So I don't think that was sort of ever on to be a positive thing. But to be fair to us, in that game, first half, we dominated them. And it seems to be a recurring theme under Ralph where, we're really good in the first half of games and then sort of fade in the second. That's exactly what happened that game. So yeah, really good first half, bad second half, and sort of a similar theme against Man United, I suppose, where, we go in at the break leading. And, even when I sort of see a positive performance, us leading at half time, I've always got a bad feeling about it. And basically United sort of, yeah, they really sort of put us under pressure second half, obviously got their goal. And I was actually pleasantly surprised that we managed to hang on for a point there. So yeah, that was a really good point. Really happy with that. And in Newcastle, I went up there myself actually 2 weeks ago, and yeah, really frustrating game. I think we had an XG of 3.57, which was I think the second highest in the Premier League at that point. And basically just absolutely like battered them first half and went in at 0-0. So yeah, that wasn't great. And I said, obviously, I know West Ham went there and won convincingly, and to be honest, we should have done the same. So really disappointing point. I know obviously at the end when you score a 96th minute equaliser, it's supposed to feel like a victory. But yeah, I definitely I was disappointed because Newcastle were there for the taking. They were so negative. We were all over them, just not clinical enough on the day. And as usual, it's probably the big thing we needed to sort of sort over the summer was our defence. And to be honest, we haven't really done it by the looks of it, and we look poor defensively again. And said the 2 goals we conceded at Newcastle were not great. A couple of the ones against Everton as well were avoidable to say the least. So yeah, worries defensively, but I think attacking wise, we've looked okay so far.
You mentioned about the defence. So you lost Vestergaard to Leicester in the summer. Kind of almost happened really, really quickly. As soon as Leicester got an injury, they came in and swooped through him and got him. And
Yeah.
obviously Ings as well. Although it was kind of on the cards that he'd leave, he kind of just rocked up at Villa, completely under the radar. Do you see the fact that there is no win yet for Southampton so far this season? Do you think that Hassenhutl has struggled to fill those gaps? Obviously, he's brought in Adam Armstrong, but are you seeing those gaps still there in terms of the way that you're playing and the goals that you concede, as you've already mentioned?
Yeah, definitely. As I said, well, as you said, we lost three of our probably our most experienced players this summer in Vestergaard, Ings, and Bertrand as well.
Mm.
That's not that we were great defensively last season, but that's two big players from our back four, two regulars from our back four that we've lost. And Bertrand's been replaced by a guy from France. He looks okay, but he doesn't have that sort of Premier League nous that Ryan Bertrand obviously has. And I think in terms of Vestergaard, no, he's not. He's not. I wouldn't say he's the best defender. So I don't think we're sort of missing him from a defensive point of view. But yeah, I just don't feel that we've sort of plugged the gaps that well, to be honest. Vestergaard's replacement is a guy called Liancao from Torino. Basically, he wasn't even a regular there. It seems like he's been brought in here to sort of be back up to centre backs that I don't think are good enough anyway. So I would have preferred us to go and buy a number one centre back if Vestergaard's going, whereas we seem to have bought backups to Jack Stevens and Jan Bednarak, who, can be solid enough on their day, but they've also got mistakes in them. So yeah, there's definitely gaps in central defence. Also, sort of going towards the end of the deadline, I think Ralph mentioned that he'd quite like to get another number 6 in, so a bit of competition for Romeu, because we basically don't have another player like him to sort of sit in front of that back four and mop up. So it would have been nice to see someone come in there, but it didn't happen. So we just got to rely on sort of him keeping fit and protecting that back line. But yeah, we do seem to have an issue as a team of when it comes to defending. We just haven't sorted it out basically. And said Ralph's been here, was it nearly 3 years now, and just, yeah, it's just a problem that hasn't really been sorted out, which is worrying really.
Yeah, I mean, covered the exits, but two main players that arrived at Southampton, particularly Adam Armstrong. We've already mentioned him. West Ham were heavily linked with him. I think West Ham fans were quite disappointed that they didn't get a deal done for him, and then Southampton ended up stealing him. And then Livramento from Chelsea, who kind of his arrival at St Mary's kind of went under the radar a little bit. But I mean, reading some reports, it sounds like he might be your most sort of dangerous player at the moment in terms of creativity.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, starting with Armstrong, really happy with what I've seen so far. Yeah, you can see like little bits of Danny Ings in him. So I think he can sort of score with either foot. He's sort of quite small. He's nippy. He'll cause defenders problems. And yeah, he has got a finish on him as well. But I think from the first 3 games, we've seen him like really involved in all of the goals we've scored, basically. So obviously the first one he scored on his debut at Everton, really good finish 1-on-1. He was involved in the one against United as well. So he sort of did a little flick to Jay Adams. Obviously that goal was deflected, so he didn't get the assist, but it was pretty much an assist in my book. And then obviously last time out against Newcastle, we won that last second penalty as well, where sort of made that the great little run that Nathan Redmond then found him with the through ball, and won that. So yeah, impressed with him so far. He's quick. He puts defenders under pressure, and he just basically suits what Ralph wants from a striker down to a T. And as I said there, he's not going to replace, Danny Ings' goals. He's not going to score 20 a season, but yeah, there are similarities between the two, and I can see why we sort of targeted him as a replacement. Basically. In terms of Livramento, as you say, it's completely under the radar. The deal seemed to happen quite quickly. £5 million, I think that's going to prove to be an absolute steal, compared to some of the fees sort of being thrown around, sort of in the current market. But yeah, he's great. I mean, I think everyone was surprised on the opening day when he started, because Kyle Walker-Peters was arguably our best player last season, or at least in the top 3. So to see him sort of on the bench and Livramento starting ahead of him, that was a real sort of shockwaves, I think, through the Saints fan base when they saw that team sheet. But he is fully deserving of the starts. He's so composed and mature for someone of his age. He knows when to go forward. He knows sort of when to stay back, how to defend. And as I said, he should have had an assist against Newcastle last time out as well, when he sort of put it across and Gineppo ballooned it over from about 5 yards. So yeah, very impressed with him. And I think Ralph's biggest issue now is how he's going to sort of fit those two into the same starting 11. Because obviously at Newcastle, Walker-Peters started left back. But I imagine he's not going to be very happy doing that, considering he's sort of one of our better players last season. He's going to be wanting to play right back. Personally, I'd like to see them both on the right-hand side, but I'm not sure whether Ralph will do that or not.
Support for the We Are West Ham podcast is brought to you by Manscaped, who are the men's below-the-waist champions of the world. Manscaped offer precision-engineered tools for your family jewels, and they just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0, all across Europe. Yep, you can join 2 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped, who we've teamed up with to bring you 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the promo code We Are West Ham. That's all one word, We Are West Ham, at manscaped.com. Imagine shaving with a sleek, well-designed and optimized trimmer that makes shaving time your favorite time, just like watching West Ham is your favorite time of the week. We're lucky enough to be one of the first to try the new 4.0, and it's fair to say we're blown away by its performance. It's a next level product that really will change the way you approach your grooming routine. James, trimmers, shaving, keeping yourself nice and tidy down there. Any funny or embarrassing stories?
Nothing from me. I'm not saying I'm a pro or anything, but nothing from me. But a friend of mine has quite an embarrassing story, which I always think about. Always makes me giggle. Particularly after a few beers when we go out on a night out with him. But on a Magaluf lads' holiday about 10 years ago, he thought on his first night he'd give himself a little bit of a tidy up, and
As
went
you
all
do.
the way. As you do, yeah. But he first time he'd ever done it, so he wasn't, he didn't really know about the aftercare and everything that comes with it, and spent a good 24, 36 hours in agony because of the Magaluf heat and the sweating that comes with it naturally. And it was very uncomfortable for him. So he got absolutely no luck, which was his intention. And so we've laughed about it ever since. What about you, mate?
Yeah, to be honest, mate, I used to be a regular waxer, believe it or not. Just a little professional studio we had near my work in an old life. This was, and I used to go and get it done in a salon, but it's an expensive way of doing it. It's like 40 quid a go every 6 weeks or whatever it was. And then so one day I thought, I'll have a go at this at home. It's got to be cheaper. Bought all the strips, and I won't go into details, but it was very, very painful. And it was not a pretty sight afterwards either. So from then on, switched to trimmers, and it's been shavers all the way for me since then. Clean and tidy, no hassle, very, very similar effect. So to say not details, but it was not pretty. So trimmers all the way.
To be fair, mate, I never had you down as a waxer, if I'm honest. But yeah, I mean, you learn something new every day, didn't you? Manscaped have engineered the ultimate groin and body trimmer to combat all those embarrassing stories once and for all by focusing on intelligent functionality and incredibly comfortable grooming experience. Their fourth generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to advanced skin-safe technology, and it also has a very impressive 4,000 LED spotlight, which I can show you right there.
Well, hey, have a look at that. Shaving in the dark.
Shaving in the dark, just in case you need to, for whatever reason. I wouldn't recommend it.
For the awkward dark spots.
Little dark spots. Again, if you've got any, it comes in handy. And that can be turned on and off when needed for a more precise shave. This thing literally does have everything. It even boasts wireless charging, additional guard links with sizes 1 to 4, and a multi-function on and off switch that can engage travel lock. So lads, if you need to up your game when it comes to tidying up your trophy cabinet, or if you've been shaving down below with the same trimmer you use for your face, now's the time to dip into the transfer market and bring in a superstar signing who will upgrade your look and feel instantly. West Ham have done just that this summer, so now it's your turn. So head over to manscaped.com for 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code WeAreWestHam. That's all one word, WeAreWestHam. You wouldn't stick a goalkeeper up front if you're a manager, so why choose anything other than the right tools for the job when it comes to your grooming? Trust us, you won't regret it. Talking to Ralph, strange one for me, and I'm sure other neutrals in that, he arrived at Southampton. It's all very promising, but he's overseen 2 9-0 defeats. I had to mention those, mate. But he's also been,
don't worry.
He's also been compared to Jurgen Klopp. He was linked with the Tottenham job when Mourinho left. But then, you very rarely see consistency in a Southampton team to suggest that he as a manager has the ability to really push forward and actually fulfill those comparisons and those expectations. Does Saints fans see that, or are they kind of beginning to get their doubts, given that it's been 3 years of inconsistency perhaps, and sort of not a lot of success, as it were.
Yeah. So I think I'm going to sort of link it back to Claude Puel, who we had before, who arguably probably was a safer bet on the pitch in terms of maybe not as an expansive style of football. He was quite boring off the pitch in terms of interviews and little sound bites. But but arguably, even though he wasn't popular with Saints fans, he was more consistent than Ralph is in terms of getting results on the pitch. And I definitely think that Ralph's personality has stopped fans getting on his back as much as maybe they would have, for example, with Claude Puel, who basically got driven out by the fans. So yeah, I think the main comparisons from my point of view in terms of him and Klopp are the personality, that they're very similar in that sort of point of view, and I guess style of football as well. But we don't have Salah and Mane and whoever else. So yeah, I think there is a bit of. I think still the majority of fans are behind Ralph, but there are people that have doubts. When you lose 9-0 for a second time, I think that was when a lot of fans were not happy. Because yes, you go down to 10 men after 2 minutes or whatever it was, but teams have done that before and they don't lose 9-0. And I think his big thing is that, again, maybe he's a little bit like Bielsa, where he's really stuck in his ways. He's rigid with what he does in terms of tactics. And yeah, I think sometimes you just got to say, when we get someone sent off after 2 minutes at Old Trafford, you've got to make changes then. And I think on that day, I think he put Ings left midfield for the majority of the game instead of ditching a striker and bringing on, a more defensive player. So I think he is learning. Against Man United, he did make changes that sort of influenced the game when United had to equalise and was sort of getting on top of the game. He made some changes that really sort of shored things up. But yeah, I think that is his big problem. I mean, I like the way we set up. I like the way we play football. But I think his main issue is reacting to things in game. I think the best example is probably on the opening day, as I mentioned already. We were 1-0 up at half time, should have been more, arguably. But basically, at the break, Rafa Benitez responded. And I think we didn't end up making a change until something like the 80th minute. And it was too late by then. He just been basically out classed by Benitez that day in terms of making changes and changing the game. So I think that's where he's really got to improve. But I think we've also got to say that he's been dealt a bad hand in terms of money he's been given to spend on his squad as well, because basically the owners doesn't put in any extra money from sort of what outside of the revenue that the club brings in. So it's been difficult for him. He's also been sort of lumbered with players from previous management regimes that have just been no good. So I'm thinking of Lamina, Wesley Hoyt. We haven't actually managed to get rid of quite a few of them this summer, but yeah, he's been lumbered with those sorts of players, which has basically left us not being able to maybe do in the transfer market what we want to do. But I mean, he said constantly that he prefers to sort of work and develop young players. And I think for probably the first season in his reign, this is the season where he has to be judged, because he's now got that younger squad. He's brought in a few younger players with potential this summer, and that's what he says he likes to work with. That's what he did at Leipzig. So I think this is the season where he's really got to be judged, and there's not really any excuses for him, I think.
Looking ahead to this weekend, obviously we've had a surprisingly good start. I mean, West Ham fans are still surprised by the fact that we are where we are and have had the season that we had last year. So it still is surprising. Are there any players in that West Ham team that, the Southampton are kind of weary of, maybe? Obviously there are Antonio, Benrahma both on form, but any other players in there that Southampton might be wary of based on, the tactics that Ralph adopts, the style of play that you have?
Yeah, I know you mentioned him there, but I am going to bring up Antonio because I'm used to him bullying our defence. And when we've got players like Bednarek and Stevens maybe starting, I know that Antonio will go into that game knowing that I'm going to bully these and I'm going to get the best out of them. And I fully expect him to do that. So yeah, he's someone that we love when he can't play. Obviously, we had him ourselves, what was it, I think 11, 12 years ago. So we sort of know what he's about. He was sort of a battering ram back then, but he was playing out wide. But yeah, since he's gone to the centre forward position, I think he's been exceptional, and yeah, worried about him this weekend. In terms of other players, I think again you probably mentioned the other one I'm worried about. I think someone like Benrahma who can sort of performing that sort of attacking third, that those little areas outside the penalty area where maybe we don't always have that cover. I think he's someone who could, just find those pockets of space and make a real difference against our defence. I would say those two are the main ones I'm wary of. But as an outfit, West Ham are impressive all over the pitch, and I think we're quite a small team as well. Obviously, we lost Vestergaard, who's 6'6" or whatever. So again, people like Soucek as well, and anyone big basically. I always fear for us against that because we can be a little bit weak physically. Definitely worried about those three. I think the most, and obviously Declan Rice coming off of an amazing international break with England. Again, always someone that can sort of dictate play, I think, from that deeper position. So, West Ham have got a lot of players that I would like in our team. I expect them to be a real threat this weekend.
And what about Southampton players that West Ham should be keeping an eye out for? Anyone in particular that can potentially damage West Ham this weekend?
Yeah, I'm gonna throw an interesting one out there. So Mohamed El Yanuti.
Okay.
So basically, I remember one of his first performances in his debut season. I just thought literally it was one of the worst performances I think I've ever seen from a Saints player. I think it was Derby away in a cup game. And he just hasn't looked suited to Premier League football at all when he has played. But then obviously he had a 2-year loan spell away at Celtic. Got a few goals there. But he looks a little bit of a different player this season. He looks a bit more confident. I think that was one of his big problems in his first couple of years with us, is that there wasn't the confidence there. But he looks a bit of a new player. Obviously, he scored against Newcastle, and that start came after he got a hat trick against Newport in an 8-0 win. I'm going to mention that just because we're not used to winning by that many. He was really good in that game. I know League Two opposition and whatnot, but he sort of earned that start at Newcastle, and he took it by getting a goal, and he looked dangerous all in all. And I think he scored for Norway the other day as well. So I'm assuming he's going to start again, given his form. So he could be sort of a lower profile one to look out for. Elsewhere, I think it's the usual James Ward-Prowse. Free kicks around the area, corner delivery, always a threat from those, obviously. And the other thing, I know we've already mentioned Armstrong, but there's quite a few promising signs between the partnership between Jay Adams and Adam Armstrong as well. So I'm looking forward to sort of seeing them in another game together. As I said, I don't know if you've seen it yourself, but the goal against United was a flick from sort of Armstrong to Adams, who then sort of finished via Fred. But it's a nice little link up between those two, and it was sort of apparent on the very opening day. I think Adams won the ball and stuck it through to Armstrong for that 1-on-1 chance. So those two are a sort of obviously a work in progress, early stages, but they look like they've got a very good partnership in the making. So I'd say those two. And Livramento, definitely one to watch at right back. I'm assuming again he's going to start, but very impressive. And I think fans there will struggle to believe that he's 18, given just how composed he is, I think.
Looking ahead to the actual game, West Ham have won 3 of the last 5 visits to St Mary's, but before then, 7 games without a win away at Southampton. Last year it was 0-0, goalless draw. How do you see this one playing out?
Not very well, to be honest.
All that positive talk beforehand.
I know. Right? No, as you said, in recent years, I think Ralph's got a terrible record against Moyes. Like up at your place, I think we tend to lose 3-0. That seems to be our regular scoreline up there. I don't know what it is, but Ralph just got a bad record against Moyes. I'm not expecting that to change this weekend. I just think obviously with West Ham starts of the season, our sort of struggles defensively. I just can't see anything but an away win. I don't know if it will be as convincing as it was at Newcastle, but I see West Ham getting the 3 points. Fully expect that. You never know, because I thought the same against Man United and we got a draw out of that one. But I think it's a slightly different game. I think Moyes a bit more tactically aware than Solskjaer as well, and he'll know how to do a job on us. As I said, I feel like, Antonio, make him captain of your fantasy team. That's my advice. I think he could have a field day against our centre backs. Said he usually does, and he's in even better form than he has been in previous years. So yeah, I think it's going to be a struggle for us.
Well, go on, James. Make our listeners happy. What's your score prediction going to be?
Yeah, I think there's going to be goals. So I'm going to go Southampton 2, West Ham 3.
Wow, close, but lots of goals.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, I'm going 2-1. I predicted 2-1 in my Betway charity bets. I don't think we'll keep a clean sheet. I think defensively, although we've brought Kurt Zuma in, there's no guarantee that he's going to walk straight into the team. I think you'd probably give him a full week's training rather than a couple of days before he goes straight in for Craig Dawson. But we are so good going forward, so there definitely will be goals. But I still see it being quite tight. So I suppose 3-2 or 2-1's probably quite a likely scoreline. But James, thanks so much for joining us this week to preview this weekend's game.